Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's TX141 here as always with another gameplay for the 8 in a Day gameplay series of the arcade mode of War Thunder. Today we're bringing out the P-40E Kittyhawk. Now to give you a little bit of history about the plane, the Kittyhawk was the name given to the later iterations of the P-40 Warhawk. When we say iterations we mean the D series and later. In general, the P-40 Warhawk was introduced in 1938, and the first major order for the plane was put down by the United States Air Force of 524 planes in 1939. The P-40 Warhawk saw great success to begin with, until it went up against planes such as the Messerschmitt 109 and the Focke-Wulf 190, where the lack of a two-stage supercharger in the engine meant that the Kittyhawk lost out up against these planes, and as a result went from being an air superiority / fighter role to a more ground attack based role. Although the Kittyhawk was well known for seeing service not just on the European theatre of operations, but also in the Pacific and also in the Eastern theatre of operations with regards to the Soviet Union and over in China. The P-40 was a very respected plane, and I must admit I have a deep amount of respect for it myself, having seen the P-40B present at RAF Duxford, and also seen the P-40E present at RAF Hendon. I would greatly recommend visiting those two air museums if you haven't done so already, because they have a wonderful collection of aircraft, and the P-40 Kittyhawk and Warhawk there at these two museums look absolutely beautiful. Going to the gameplay, we're on the ground strike map port. Haven't been on this map for a little while. And, as I say that, we're just looping over down onto this Hurricane, who was gradually climbing up and signalled their intent to engage either myself or my teammate in the Chiker who just left the top left of the screen. Having switched off the engine, I pull off a nice burst with the 650 caliber machine guns, which, while the 50 cals are rather slated in War Thunder, I think they have quite a nice appeal to them, regardless of tier, and do a sufficient amount of damage so long as you can get a good 2-second burst off on a target. Now in game, the Kittyhawk is a reasonably manoeuvrable plane. Its real-life counterpart was known for being manoeuvrable, with one American pilot comparing it to the P-38 and saying that most pilots, when they made the transition from the P-40 to the P-38 Lightning, never truly realised how manoeuvrable the P-40 was. In the iteration that we see in War Thunder, I have mixed opinions concerning the Kittyhawk. I love the armament, especially at the rank it's at, i.e. an early rank 2 plane. I think the battle rating is about 2.3, although I can't be certain that. You guys and girls will have to check for me. It's quite a nice plane. Although the only problem is I find this plane is very twitchy and incredibly sensitive to fine movements. When I say that, what I mean is when I'm chasing an opposing plane, I'll go to shoot, but because that plane's just out of my line of fire, when I make a small rudder correction or a small turn correction, I find that the whole plane jerks slightly to left or the right, and as a result I lose my aim. I lose my aim on target. Now I've got a Messerschmitt 109 ML coming over towards me, and so I decide to bank into a hard turn with my high speed and fly underneath and over. I loop over because the vertical loop circle for the P-40 Kittyhawk is quite impressive, and as I finish looping over, I get onto the back of this Messerschmitt 109E1, who's proceeded to go dead vertical, and I open up. I achieve a critical hit on that plane's elevator, on the Messerschmitt 109's elevator, and I open up once again, throwing some gunfire out, doing more damage to their tail. However, at this point I decide to reel in my bloodlust and leave that Messerschmitt 109 alone, because I know there are a number of enemy fighters and ground attack craft coming over my way, and I don't want to lose track of the overall situation. Additionally, for those who are concerned with my setup, today I'm using a 500 meter gun convergence on the 50 cals with with omni-purpose or universal ammunition and a 30-minute fuel load. Now those of you who might have noticed there, I was wondering where that MiG-315 was. It's quite funny that they're actually underneath me, the one place I didn't check, and I wouldn't have been able to check if I was flying in cockpit mode. And unfortunately, due to my tardiness, that Messerschmitt 109 ML1 managed to get a clean burst off of me. However, due to their lack of cannons, I was able to take a couple of hits and get on behind them and kill their pilot due to the ensuing flames. And I break onto the back of that Heinkel 51C1 and fire a small burst of that pea shooter before engaging this KI-45 because I'm in the middle of a furball. Now you have noticed that apart from the E1, we also took a bit of damage from a plane behind us. It's an Su-2. And this is where I come on to the one thing I dislike about the Kittyhawk, despite having just achieved my 6th kill in a very short period of time. The Kittyhawk's rather durable, as you can see here. We're getting hit quite severely by a set of 4 7.62mm machine guns. However, what I dislike about the Kittyhawk, as well as its twitchiness to manoeuvres, is also, well, I'll just engage as P-40E and take them out very quickly, making my 7th and final kill for this video. The one thing I dislike about the Kittyhawk is its lack of acceleration. Now, I'm not sure if this reflects how the plane was in real life, apart from the fact it didn't have the 2-stage supercharger on the engine, and I'm getting quite nervous at this point of this Wildcat coming over towards me, although my teammate in the lag-free soon intercepts them, as I make my way back to the airfield to land. No, but the one thing I dislike about this plane is the lack of acceleration in the engine, and if the engine was a little bit more powerful, then we would have been able to gradually break away from that Su-2 that had followed us all the way through that furball. Now, of course, I was making manoeuvres, and the Su-2 is quite heavy in the nose, all honesty, for being a ground attack plane. So as a result, we might not still have got away from our opponent who was chasing us, and we were quite fortunate to make it away with our tails between our legs. However, it just goes to show that while we can't always get away from a given engagement unscathed, so to speak, we can make it away having taken damage, but live to fight another day, due to the reasonable durability of the Kittyhawk. It's not as durable as, say, a Wildcat or a Hellcat. Those planes are far more durable from my experience. However, the Kittyhawk can hold its own. Now, I've got to admit, so long as you keep your speed up in this plane, I keep a speed between 300 and 400 kilometers an hour, and use your manoeuvres well, but conservatively, so as not to throw your speed advantage away, you'll be able to turn very well. You won't be able to match the turning circle of a Spitfire at those speeds, if they manage to roll in time. However, you've got a very good turn circle and you can compete with planes such as Yak 7s and Yak 1s, along with Messerschmitt 109s quite well. Another lovely thing to note about the Kittyhawk is its roll rate. It's quite comparable to the lag-free's roll rate at speeds up to and including 500 km an hour, at which point the roll rate starts to freeze up. And just as I go to take off, having repaired, the game ends, as you're about to see. Eventually. And so I'd like to apologise for this being a rather hasty gameplay, in all honesty, folks. It was very short, and I did get a couple of games beforehand, which were ace in the days. However, I was a bit disappointed in the fact that whenever I put the Kittyhawk at the top of my roster, as I normally do, I ended up against a lot of biplanes. And this was the only game I went into where I didn't end up against just a biplane composition of opponents. So anyway, reviewing the scores, we managed to get 7 kills in an incredibly short period of time, and we were in the middle of the furball for most of it, minus that hurricane kill at the start. Additionally, what's quite interesting to note is we never got any assists, and we took a significant number of hits to reflect on the P-40 Kittyhawk's overall manoeuvrability and firepower, along with its ability to take a few bullets at its tier, i.e. machine guns. If those being cannons hitting us or a single cannon, we wouldn't have been able to get away with that unscathed. Still, it's a very good game, earning 1,156 research points for modifications and 26,500 silver lions. However, we did get a battle trophy, so as a result I wouldn't recommend that's going to be the average silver lions per game you're going to earn. However, it was a good game nonetheless, and I'd say that if we hadn't had that battle trophy, we would have been in the region of about 10,000 silver lions. Looking at the scores, we're the top of our team, and it's to note that we pulled a considerable amount of weight in that game. However, it's not about how well you did compared to your teammates, it's how well you did in terms of your personal achievements, and how much fun you had. So I've been TX141. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like, comment, or feel free to subscribe for future content on my channel. You can click the link in the top right corner annotation, or click subscribe above the video. However, until next time, take care and have fun in the skies.